Sup flappers, so Albedo has been out for a while now and his days are numbered. Literally. I'm sure you have all seen the builds, the showcases, the memes, and at this point, have made up your minds about this unit. However, for those indecisive Joey and Janes out there whom are still searching for a reason to either get him or skip him, I hope this video will be your last stop and help you find some closure. As someone who has played him extensively in many teams since his release, I have built him in all the ways possible, and in this video, I will share with you everything I know about him. We will cover his damage potential, cost of access, ease of use, bossing, exploration, and domains, comparison with previous limited characters, and finally pros and cons. And we're gonna give him a score at the end. This is the first character I'm doing this for, so hopefully you all can take away from this video more than just numbers and damage, since characters are not all about how much damage they can do. So with that, let's get started. Now, I know I just said damage is not everything, but it's still something, so let's just quickly go over that here for those who are curious. When it comes to active on-field damage, Albedo sits middle to bottom of the list. With relatively weak normal attack scaling, Albedo will have to make it up through burst spamming and elemental skill support damage. The problem with this is that while his burst is great for DPS, his elemental skill was designed as a passive damage source, meaning he is not required to be on the field to benefit from its damage. Going from this, it becomes rather wasteful to have him be on the field to benefit from. I have tested him as a main carry in a video already, so I can say with confidence that he is just not designed for this role. As much as I wanted him to be, it just was not meant to be. It's like forcing Xingqiu to be the main DPS of your team. It can definitely work, but the investment is steep and output is relatively low. That being said, when you slot Albedo into the support DPS position, it opens up all the doors. The sky becomes more blue, and in this case more orange. The grass becomes greener, and your opponents die faster. Albedo's off-field presence is out of this world. As mentioned previously, his elemental skill adds an insane amount of damage output for any main carries, but that is not it. As the damage is dealt in geo damage, you have the added benefit of having crystallized reactions with this interaction, adding additional defensive properties to his support capabilities. The elemental skill has an extremely short cooldown, as well as lasting 30 seconds on field, which makes relocating the zone an easy task as well. With his fast charging burst skill, Albedo adds up to be an amazing support DPS. So for cost of access, this really just talks about whether you need further constellations to access his potential, and that is definitely not the case with this unit. For people considering Albedo, do know that just with one copy he will be enough to perform at S tier efficiency. The only thing you will notice from his constellations will be more damage, which is always welcome, but there's a difference between having damage and utility locked behind constellations and just more damage added. For example, if let's say his elemental skill does physical damage and Constellation 1 changes it to geo damage, that would be considered constellation locking out utility. In Albedo's case, he is fully unlocked and ready to slap at C0, which is very reminiscent of how Venti was. Such low cost of access pushes him much higher on the list for best F2P 5-star to have. Now for ease of use, how difficult is it to pilot this unit and access his full potential? Will you be gated if you are on mobile? Will you need to master any difficult mechanics? The thing for Albedo is, he will be as difficult as your current main carry is to pilot, as what he offers is off-field support, so for the majority of the time you will not be using him. You swap him in to drop his elemental skill and swap him out. You may find difficulties in his skill placement if you run him with characters that have other geo statues such as Zhongli or Ningguang, since their structures cannot overlap, but overall he is a plug-and-play character that anyone can utilize. This is especially true for mobile players which have extremely limited action inputs, so he is a great character to pick up if you do not enjoy a character that requires a high skill ceiling. Okay, at this point, I swear, he is not perfect, so just keep watching. Next, we have the bossing, exploration, and domain evaluations. I have these all in one section since I believe they're essentially the same in World Combat. Starting with bossing. This is the first part where Albedo falls just a little short. For anyone who have used Geo characters while bossing knows that firstly, any structures put down on the boss will be instantly destroyed. Also, bosses hit for a huge area and oftentimes those hits will also render your structures useless. For someone like Albedo who heavily relies on playing around your elemental skill, bossing proves to be a relatively difficult task for him. On the contrary, his burst skill provides good iframe, and when used with his elemental skill on field, you get bonus damage. So during bossing, you often use both at the same time to prevent your skill from being destroyed and reducing your burst damage. That being said, this is mostly a problem for 2 out of the 3 weekly bosses, being Childe and Wolf Daddy. For exploration, the elevator is definitely useful, but you will find that in many situations it will lodge into the side of a cliff and won't rise up properly, which ultimately makes the skill unreliable during times of need when you are low on stamina and just need that extra bit of boost to finish. Climbing. What else did you think I was referring to? However, if you pair Albedo with Keqing or Venti, this gives you the highest elevation possible, so it definitely still helps. All in all, exploration definitely becomes easier with Albedo, and if that's your thing, he will be a great pickup. Now, finally, domains. Currently, my main team consists of Keqing, Albedo, Qiqi, and Zhongli. With Keqing running a physical build, it definitely helps to have Albedo's mixed geo damage help to shred down high defense targets. In fact, the synergy with Zhongli's pillar and geo resonance shield are a plus as well. Compared to my previous team of Keqing, Zhongli, Qiqi, and Venti, this team offers a similar clear time, which when considering Venti was a part of the previous team, is giving Albedo a lot of credit. Although Albedo performs well in both exploration and domain, the fact that Geos lose zone control against bosses definitely hurts his performance here a little bit. Okay, so diving into a more abstract area is comparison with previous released limited characters. Now, this is just my personal list of characters that I feel, judging by my experience, how good each character has been. So I will list them from best to worst, starting with Venti being the king of limited characters still, followed by Klee, then Zhongli, then Childe. And again, this is how I felt these characters were based on my gameplay. I have dumped an enormous amount of resources to balance my characters, but I am not as conceited to think my list fits all. So take this with a grain of salt, but I think Albedo slots right behind Venti as the second best limited character released to date. And that just have to do with everything I had mentioned up until this point. He is so easy to use, you can already get full access to his entire kit at Constellation 0, and he functions as a hybrid character which mixes offense with defense. So with the up and coming Geo buff, I can imagine him to be even more impressive as a character. So finally, let's go over his pros and cons. While Albedo excels in supporting the team, his condition is that he controls the area that the fight takes place. This is done through his elemental skill, so as long as this skill is active, Albedo will have unrivaled field presence. The problem arises when powerful enemies are able to dominate such zones and force the fights on their terms. Then Albedo starts to struggle. While exploring the world of Teyvat, we can run into certain terrains that push us to our utmost limits, but Albedo is able to lend a helping hand when needed. Ultimately, whilst he is a genius, he cannot do it all, but it's very close to perfection. So for this character, an overall rating would be an S. At this point, I'm sure most people who have not picked him up either is because they simply don't have enough Primo Gems or they hate perfectionists. It's unfortunate that we cannot get them all, but it's important for us to know what each character is like and make our decisions fully aware of what it is we are choosing to skip. I hope this video has helped you in making a clearer decision going forward, and you won't look back and regret not picking him up or the fact that you rushed into a character you didn't fully want. This is Erotic Walrus, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. Share it if you think others can use this information, and join my Discord to partake in discussions regarding Genshin Impact. So until tomorrow's video, flappers, stay safe and peace.